All right, Aries, welcome to your monthly horoscope for March of 2015. My name is Athen. So this month is very catalytic, lots of things happening in the astrology. It's a month of essentially releasing the old, of moving forward, of drive. We've got the last aspect of the Uranus Pluto square going exact this month, right at the beginning, right in the middle of the month. And we've got all the fast-moving planets, the Sun, including Mars, Venus, and Mercury, all going over the Uranus-Pluto square energy. And of course, because it's involving the nodes, we do have the solar eclipse. So very powerful month, and there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to go through it rather quickly. If you have any specific questions, please let me know. So the month starts off right on the 1st when we got Venus going over the South Node, which is wanting to release some old energy. That's what the South Node signifies. And for you, Aries, the South Node is in your 12th house. So there's this releasing of the old in terms of perhaps hiding away, perhaps some things regarding your spirituality, perhaps lack of motivation, lack of energy. These are old tendencies which are associated with the more negative qualities of the 12th house because it's involving the South Node, you see. So whatever it is, over-spiritualizing, these types of things where it might be a subtle energy that perhaps you're doing too much of or not enough of, you see. So Venus going over here is wanting to release the old, in essence, and it more than likely will have something to do with that 12th house for you. Then at that very same time, we have two other aspects on the 1st. We've got Mercury opposite Jupiter, and then that Jupiter trining up to Uranus. So at the beginning of the month, and really this first 10 days of the month, is very optimistic. There's lots of positive energy of wanting change, wanting excitement, wanting to release, being very optimistic about the future. And this is really good because what we can do is we can utilize these first 10 days to get a lot done in this way. Now let's talk about the elements of this though. Mercury is transiting your 10th house, so perhaps the optimism is going to come from these things that you've been reworking or learned about your career and work, where Mercury was retrograde last month, or the expansion that's happening in regards to your home and family. That's Jupiter transiting your 4th. So there's this balancing act between home and family that's been this sort of recurring theme. And I think you guys will be quite optimistic about what you can achieve in either or both of those areas this month at the beginning here. And that's going to assist you essentially in creating these changes. It's this drive, this optimism from this that's going to help you create the changes and motivate you, hopefully, to make the changes that are necessary with this Uranus-Pluto square. So with this Uranus-Pluto business, this has been the past few years. It's been involving that 12th house of yours, and then 9th house, okay, and then recently the 6th house. So in essence, you guys are breaking free from a lot of these, again, 12th house things, behind the scenes, spirituality, maybe realizing that your spirituality is holding you back, or that you're taking too much time out, or not enough time with spirit. Maybe you need to break free and get in touch with your spiritual self. That's been sort of squaring up to this whole Pluto energy in your 9th house, which has been restructuring your life path. Pluto has been urging you to step into your power, to take control of your whole life and of your destiny, and to step into your principles of that 9th house in Sagittarius. So that's been this ongoing theme, squaring the 9th and the 12th house. So whatever it is for you, this is the last of it this month. So it's a month of hopefully utilizing this early motivational energy in the beginning of the month to then start to make these changes, which will then help you understand a lot. There's a lot of understanding about ourselves going throughout this month. By the end of this month, I think we're going to understand a lot, especially the aspects of ourself that are unconscious, you know, especially for you Aries, because the 12th house is the unconscious mind. There's unconscious things at work here. And it's a great understanding of a lot of these elements this month. Now on the 4th, we've got Venus then going over that Uranus, while Mars goes over the South Node. So this is where, again, there's this motivational energy of wanting this freedom, wanting this spiritual freedom, wanting to break free. And you're driven to do it. At least the opportunity is there for it with these types of aspects. Okay, Mars conjuncting over the South Node, where it was early on about wanting it, this is where you're really driven. You're like, okay, you know what? I want to make these changes. I want to make these, I want to step into this power. I want to release myself from these things that are holding me back. And maybe it's your subconscious mind holding you back with the 12th house, you see. So again, a spark here on the 4th, lots of motivational energy. Then we have a full moon in Leo on the 5th, in your 5th house. Okay, so this is that vital life force energy. There's something that's manifesting here, perhaps from this whole lunar cycle from last month, in regards to the big picture, the global picture, your community, wanting to be of service, perhaps thinking about the major things that are shifting on the planet, or with your local community, or with your friends, or whatever it is that's 11th house related. It culminates here on the 5th, and it creates this vital life force energy for you. And that full moon trines up to this Uranus Pluto square. So you can see it's very positive energy to be utilized for the early part of this month. Now Mercury then shifts signs, goes into Aquarius, and I think at that point around the 8th you are going to be thinking even more in regards to these larger things, global things, your ideals, the shifts, the community, humanitarian type of things, perhaps the enjoyment that you get when you're of service and giving. That's going to be the Mercury sort of element for the majority of the month here. Then on the 9th, we've got Mars trining up to Jupiter, okay, driven optimism. This is where the energy is really building, okay. Then on the 11th, there is this sort of, this is the first of the releasing sort of energies. We have Mars going over Uranus, okay. There's a conjunction here. And this is a very powerful conjunction because Mars is driven, and Uranus wants that freedom. And again, this is happening in that 12th house. So something breaking free here in regards to these 12th house activities. There's a motivation here. There's a drive to do it. So utilize it, okay? Now what this does is right when this happens on the 11th, it starts the Uranus Pluto square exact this month from the 11th through the 22nd. So during this time, this is the greatest opportunity. All these aspects are opportunities. This is the greatest opportunity to take charge, to make these changes. You're going to have Mars assisting you in that 12th house, aspecting this aspect. Okay? It's getting rid of the old, breaking free from the old, taking power of your life, making those changes. You see? With Pluto. And this is all for the best. This is signifying, because we have a solar eclipse coming up, this is signifying a lot of new beginnings for the rest of our life, but for the rest of the 6 months for this solar eclipse season. Now on the 12th, this is where things start to become, where you can really enjoy the process. Venus goes into your 1st house on the 12th. Okay, now this is the first of the fast moving planets to go into your 1st house. So this is enjoying taking charge. I think by doing this, there's this momentum that you build. You know, when we start to get that momentum building and moving, and we start to realize how much we can enjoy taking action and initiative, this is Venus in the 12th, and she's going to, in your 1st, on the 12th, she's going to be there all month. Now on the 14th, on the 14th, we've got Saturn going retrograde in Scorpio. Okay, so this is a reflection. And for all of us, it's a reflection of our structures in life. That's the Saturn element. Now, this is happening in your 8th house. Saturn recently, at the end of last month, went into your 8th. So you guys have been building the structures in your life that are more meaningful to you. Okay? That's what Saturn in the 8th has been doing. Now he's retrograde. So you're rethinking these structures. You're rethinking these things that perhaps you once, earlier last or later part of last year, you thought you wanted, or that you were building. Now you're mulling it over, and this is good. You want to use this time, and for the next, months after this, 5 months or so, to think about this, to think about and mull over these structures that you're building in your life. And this is all coming from this releasing. You see, your subconscious is being exposed here, and there's changes happening, or at least could be. Now the sun at this point on the 14th goes into your 12th house, so this is where the spiritual awareness starts, is in the middle of the month. Once this action starts to get moving. The sun in the 12th in Pisces is an illumination. The sun's going to be there for the next 30 days, an awareness of your unconscious mind in that 12th house, you see. So a reflective time, a time of understanding, a time of that introspection. Now on the 18th, we've got Mercury conjuncting up to Neptune. This is again, well actually this is more of that Mercury energy, except by this point Mercury is in that 11th house of groups, friends, the community, the greater picture. Okay, going over Neptune, this is where you see the spiritual connection in what you're doing, and perhaps of being of service, or the enjoyment that you're getting from your work, or the spiritual connections that perhaps are taking place with your friends or your groups, these types of 11th house things, or your ideals. But in either case, it's a spiritual understanding of your contribution in many ways on the 18th here. Okay, so pay attention around that time, because Mercury over a planet gives us the wisdom of that planet. Now on the 20th, we have the solar eclipse. Okay, so around this time, it's the energy of the new moon. Okay, it's the new beginning, so it's a reflective time, especially for you because it's happening in your 12th house in Pisces. So it's a subtle energy. Okay, so paying attention around this time in terms of what insights are coming to you, perhaps in terms of what you're uncovering from your unconscious or from your spiritual self through meditation or through whatever it is that you're utilizing at this time, or just having that conscious awareness. And that's going to slowly start to build as the month ends and then into April. Okay, so paying attention there lays a nice foundation for the upcoming months of what these new beginnings are. Again, it's something to do with your 12th house. A new beginning of releasing some old things regarding the unconscious, subconscious, spirituality, behind the scenes type of things that are holding you back. A break from that and understanding is now beginning a new beginning for you for the next 6 months at least and beyond. These solar eclipses are very large, very, very impactful in our overall life. Now on the 23rd, we've got Mars then going into Aries. This is now where we once enjoyed and are still enjoying taking charge. Mars in Aries, in your first house, is all about taking charge and getting things done. Okay, so you see there's this transformation happening, and by the end of the month, with then your ruler Mars going into your first, this is when things for you shift. Okay, and they become much more about your goals, your ambitions, your drives, your achievements in life, taking action, moving forward, getting that ball moving in terms of whatever it is you've learned during this time. Now by this aspect, the Uranus Pluto square is going to be done. Okay, so it's right at the end of that there's this new beginning, this new energy, this new inspiration or passion that's moving forward in your house of goals, ambitions, and drives, you see. Now on the 27th, we've got Mercury then going into Pisces, where you can tap into that intuition, learn a lot, continue to learn a lot about this unconscious stuff, perhaps by putting the energy forward, moving forward in the process. You're learning perhaps more about these things behind the scenes. And then on the 30th, the Sun goes over the South Node, which activates the South Node, helps you see very clearly not only the unconscious, but those things that once were holding you back. Okay? Very important there. All right, Aries. Well, I want to thank you all very much for all of your support. If you have any questions at all, please get in touch. Get in touch if you'd like a personal reading. And do stay tuned for my weekly and daily horoscopes. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Have a fantastic month, and I'll talk to you next time.